The massive doors of St. Patrick's Cathedral slammed shut with a finality that echoed like a gunshot. Inside, the organ's last mournful note died. Outside, in the merciless February blizzard, Sophia Rossi remained. She sat on the top step, knees drawn to her chest. The train of her $15,000 custom Vera Wang gown frozen solid beneath her like a shroud of ice. Snow piled on her bare shoulders, melting into the silk bodice, turning it translucent and clinging. Her veil, once a cloud of French tulle, now hung in wet tatters. Plastered across her face, the bouquet, white orchids and blood-red roses, lay crushed at her feet, petals scattered like fresh wounds on the marble. Her phone had buzzed exactly 3 hours. 47 minutes ago. Marco's message was short, clinical, devastating. It's over. Elena and I are on a plane to Santorini. The accounts are cleaned out. Don't follow, don't call. Goodbye. Elena, her sister, the one who'd held her hand during fittings, who'd toasted to forever at the rehearsal dinner with tears in her eyes. They'd been sharing Marco's bed for nearly a year while Sophia chose napkin colors and practiced her vows. The guests had fled in awkward silence. Her father, Don Rossi, had punched a stone pillar until his knuckles bled, roaring promises of vengeance before storming into the night. Her mother had collapsed into hysterics and been carried away by cousins. No one came back for Sophia. No coat, no car, no mercy. The cold wasn't just weather anymore. It was punishment. Her teeth chattered so violently her jaw ached. Fingers numb, lips blue, vision blurring at the edges. She could feel hypothermia creeping in. Slow and seductive, part of her welcomed it. Better to fade here than face the humiliation waiting tomorrow. Then headlights pierced the swirling white. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided to a stop at the curb. Engine a low, predatory growl. The rear door opened before the car fully stopped. A man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal Brioni suit that cost more than most people's houses. No overcoat, only the storm touching him. Snowflakes melting on dark hair, tracing rivulets down a scarred jawline. Damien Blackthorne, the billionaire who owned half of Manhattan's skyline by day and the underworld by night. Marco Vital's most dangerous enemy, the man who'd once burned an entire Vitali warehouse to ash just to send a message. The man Marco had tried, and failed, to assassinate twice. Sophia's heart slammed against her ribs. She knew the rules of their world. If Damien found the rival's bride alone on her wedding night, he wouldn't offer help. He would take, use, destroy. He crossed the distance in long strides. Boots crunching snow, stopped just above her, looked down. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to his steel-gray eyes. Cold, calculating, unreadable. Then he spoke, voice low enough to cut through the wind. You're bleeding. She glanced down. A thin line of red seeped through the lace at her palm. She'd gripped the bouquet so hard the thorns had pierced skin without her noticing. Damien crouched slowly, bringing their faces level, close enough she could smell cedar, gun oil, and something darker. He reached out, slow, deliberate, and brushed a snow-crusted strand of hair from her cheek. His fingers were warm, shockingly warm. He left you to freeze, Damien said. Not a question, a statement laced with quiet fury. Sophia swallowed, voice raw. He left me for my sister. They planned it, everything. A muscle ticked in his jaw. He studied her, really studied her, like she was a puzzle he hadn't expected to solve tonight. Then, without warning, he shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over her trembling shoulders. The wool was body warm, heavy with his scent. It swallowed her. Get up, he ordered softly, or I'll carry you. She stared at the hand he extended. Strong, scarred, steady. Why? She whispered, the word cracking. You could let me die here. Perfect revenge. Damien's lips curved. Just a hint. Dangerous and unreadable. Because, he said, Marco thinks this breaks you. And I don't let cowards win. His fingers closed around hers. Firm, inescapable. He pulled her to her feet. The blizzard howled around them as he guided her down the steps toward the waiting car. Sophia's gown dragged through snow, leaving a trail like a dying swan. Behind them, the cathedral doors stood silent witnesses. Ahead lay shadows deeper than any winter night, and in that moment, the abandoned bride didn't know if she was being rescued or claimed. The Rolls-Royce door closed with a soft, expensive thud that felt like the ceiling of a tomb. Inside, the world changed. Heated leather seats enveloped Sophia like a false promise. Warm air blasted from hidden vents, chasing the ice from her bones, but not from her heart. Damien sat beside her, close enough that their thighs almost touched. Yet he gave her space. Deliberate space. The kind predators use before they strike. He didn't speak at first, just watched her through half-lidded eyes as she clutched his jacket tighter around herself. Snow melted off her veil in slow drips, pooling on the floor mat. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the crystal tumbler he pressed into them. "Drink," he said, not gentle, command. "Scotch. Aged. Smoky. Expensive." She swallowed half in one go. It burned all the way down, waking something feral inside her. Anger, shame, hunger for retribution. "Why me?" she asked again, voice hoarse. "You could have driven past, let the cold finish what Marco started." Damien leaned forward, elbows on knees, studying the amber liquid in his own glass. "Because Marco Vitali thinks he's untouchable. Thinks he can humiliate a woman like you, publicly, brutally, and walk away clean. I don't allow that kind of arrogance in my city." "Your city?" She let out a bitter laugh. "Last I checked, my father still owns half the docks." "Your father left you on those steps." His words cut clean. He didn't even send a car back. The truth landed like a slap. She looked away. Out the tinted window at the snow-blurred city lights streaking past Manhattan glittered. Indifferent, they arrived at Blackthorn Tower in silence. The private elevator required Damien's thumbprint and retinal scan. No lobby, no doorman, just a seamless ascent to the penthouse. 3 entire floors of glass, steel, and controlled violence disguised as luxury. He led her through shadowed corridors to a guest suite that could have housed a small family. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the frozen Hudson. A fire already crackled in the marble hearth. A maid, silent, efficient, appeared with thick towels, a cashmere robe, slippers, and a tray. Chamomile tea, fresh croissants, sliced fruit, painkillers. Damien paused at the doorway. "Shower. Warm up, eat. There are clothes in the closet. Your size. I'll be in the study if you need anything." She turned. "And if I try to leave?" Quote. His gaze darkened. "You won't make it to the elevator. Not tonight. Not until I know you're not going to do something stupid like run back to your father and beg for scraps." "I'm not stupid." "No," he agreed quietly. "You're not. That's why you're still alive." He left without another word. The door clicked shut, soft, but final. Sophia stood under the rainfall shower for what felt like hours. Hot water pounded her skin until it turned pink. She scrubbed at the mascara tracks, at the memory of Marco's smile, at the phantom smell of Alina's perfume on his collar from the rehearsal dinner. When the water finally ran cold, she wrapped herself in the robe, soft as sin, and found the closet. Everything fit perfectly, too perfectly. Black silk pajamas, cashmere sweater, tailored leggings. Someone had prepared this room. For her, or for someone else he'd once brought here. She ate standing at the window, watching snow bury the city. Her reflection stared back, pale, hollow-eyed, but no longer shivering. Something hard had settled in her chest. A knock. She startled. Damien stood in the doorway, sleeves rolled to his forearms, revealing corded muscle and faint scars. He held a tablet. Your phone's been cloned and wiped, he said without preamble. Marco's tracking it. We killed the signal. Your father's been calling non-stop. I haven't answered. She swallowed. What do you want from me? Quote, information. He stepped inside, closing the distance. Marco's safe houses. His offshore accounts. His next moves. You were going to be his wife. You know things even his lieutenants don't. And in return? Quote, protection, resources, revenge. If you want it, his voice dropped. Our freedom. Walk away tomorrow with a new identity. Clean slate. 10 million in an untraceable account. Your choice. Sophia met his eyes. Steel meeting steel. I don't want freedom, she said slowly. I want him to bleed. A slow, dangerous smile curved Damien's mouth. The first real one she'd seen. Then we have a deal. He extended his hand. She took it. His grip was warm, unyielding, electric. Outside, the blizzard raged on. Inside, something far more dangerous had just begun. Morning light sliced through the blackout curtains like silver blades. Sophia woke tangled in silk sheets that smelled faintly of Damien, cedar and smoke. Her body ached from the cold of the night before, but her mind was razor sharp. Revenge had taken root overnight. Dark and hungry, she found him in the study. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, a single lamp casting long shadows. Damien at a massive ebony desk reviewing surveillance feeds on multiple screens. He wore a black cashmere sweater and dark jeans. Casual, yet somehow more lethal than the suit. A bandage peeked from under his sleeve. Old wound, fresh blood. He didn't look up immediately. Sleep? Quote, enough. She crossed to the desk. Barefoot on heated marble. You said terms, let's hear them. Damien finally met her eyes. Something unreadable flickered there. Respect, perhaps. Or calculation. He pushed a folder toward her. Thick, black, no label. Read. Inside, photos of Marco and Elena on a private jet. Laughing. Bank statements showing transfers from joint accounts Sophia thought were hers alone. Wire intercepts. Safe house addresses in the Hamptons. Miami. Santorini. Marco's next big move. A weapons shipment docking in 2 weeks. The kind that could tip the balance of power in the city. Sophia's fingers tightened on the edges until the paper creased. You've been watching him for years. Longer than you've known him. Damien leaned back. He's been gunning for my territory since his father died. You were supposed to be the alliance that sealed it. Rossi and Vitali united. Instead, he used you as cover while he built his exit. She closed the folder. What do you want? Quote, everything you know. Schedules, passwords, weaknesses. In return, I keep you alive. Fund whatever life you want after this. And make sure Marco loses everything. Money, power, freedom, maybe his life, if he forces my hand. Sophia walked to the window. The city sprawled below, indifferent. And if I say no? Quote, you walk out that door. I don't stop you, but Marco will find you within 48 hours. Your father might hand you over to save face. Elena will make sure you suffer first. She turned. You're not giving me a choice. I'm giving you the only real one left. He stood, closing the distance until he was inches away. Stay, fight, win, or run, die. The air between them thickened. She could feel the heat radiating from him. The controlled violence coiled in every muscle. I stay, she said, but on my terms too. His brow lifted. Name them. No more games. No more half-truths. If we're doing this, we do it together. Equal partners. And when it's over, she paused, voice steady. I get to be the one who ends him. Damien studied her for a long beat. Then he extended his hand. Not for a shake this time, but palm up, waiting. She placed hers in it. He closed his fingers slowly, deliberately. The grip wasn't gentle. It was a vow sealed in skin. Partners, he murmured. The first days blurred into nights of strategy. Damien taught her to read encrypted files, spot tails, handle a Glock without flinching. She taught him the little things Marco never hid from her. How he always checked his left cufflink when lying. How he favored the same mistress's apartment for meetings because the building had no cameras on. The service entrance. Tension simmered beneath every lesson. A brush of fingers while passing a tablet. A lingering look across the chessboard late at night. Once, during a self-defense drill, he pinned her to the mat, chest to chest, breaths mingling, and neither moved for a heartbeat too long. "You're getting better," he said, voice rough. "I have a good teacher." She didn't push him off. He did, eventually, but the air stayed charged. Then the first crack appeared. An encrypted call came in at 3 a.m. Damien took it in another room. Sophia, unable to sleep, slipped closer to the door. She caught fragments. Quote, "Rossi's offering her back. Full alliance against us if we hand her over." Quote, her father's voice on speaker. Cold, businesslike. Quote, "Marco's willing to forgive the betrayal if we deliver the girl. She's leverage." Sophia's blood turned to ice. Damien ended the call without responding. When he stepped out, he found her in the hallway. Arms crossed, eyes blazing. "You were going to tell me?" She asked quietly. "I was going to tell you he's a coward who'd sell his own daughter. But you didn't tell me he already tried." Damien's jaw tightened. "Because I wasn't going to accept. Ever." She searched his face. Found no lie. "Then prove it," she said. "Right now." He stepped closer, crowding her against the wall without touching her. "How?" Quote, "I'm not just a weapon." For the first time, Damien hesitated. Then he didn't. "You're not leverage," he rasped. "You're the reason I'm ending this." Outside, the city slept. Inside, the war had just become personal. By morning, the alliance hardened into routine. Damien's war room became theirs. Maps pinned to walls, screens glowing with Marcos movements, encrypted chats pinging with intel from paid informants. Sophia proved ruthless in her own way. She remembered Marcos' habits like scripture. The way he always parked his black Escalade facing the exit. How he kept burner phones in the glove compartment of every car. The exact code to his Hamptons panic room. Her birthday, twisted backward. Damien watched her with growing intensity, not just as an asset, as something he couldn't quite name. One evening, after decoding a shipment manifest that placed Marco back in the city sooner than expected, tension snapped. They were alone in the gym. Sparring mats, heavy bags, mirrors reflecting every move. Damien had her in a hold, arm locked behind her back, chest pressed to her spine, teaching escape. "Again," he said, breath hot against her ear. She twisted free, spun, aimed a palm strike at his throat. He blocked, caught her wrist, pulled her close, too close. "You're holding back," he murmured. "So are you." His grip tightened. "If I don't, I might not stop." "Then don't." The kiss this time was slower, deeper, hands roaming, his under her tank top, tracing the curve of her spine. Hers fisting in his hair, tugging hard enough to make him growl. They stumbled against the mirrored wall, reflections multiplying the heat. Clothes came off in frantic layers. Skin met skin. No words, just need. Afterward, on the mat, sweat slick and breathing hard. Reality crashed back. "This complicates things," Damien said, staring at the ceiling. It already was complicated. Sophia propped on an elbow, looking down at him. "You think I don't know what this looks like? The rival's discarded bride warming your bed while you dismantle his empire?" Quote, he turned his head, eyes dark. "I don't care what it looks like. I care what it is." "And what is it?" Quote, he reached up, thumb brushing her swollen lower lip. "Mine." The word landed heavy, possessive, protective, terrifying. She didn't argue, but danger closed in faster than desire. 3 nights later, an alarm shattered the penthouse silence. Perimeter breach on the service level. Damien was up in seconds. Gun in hand, shoving Sophia behind him. Stay here. Lock the door. She didn't. She followed. In the security room, feeds showed 3 masked men in the loading dock, cutting through steel doors with plasma torches. Professional. Vitaly colors on their gloves. Damien barked orders into his comms, his men mobilized. But Sophia spotted something on the main feed. One intruder lingered at the rear, holding a small device. A detonator. They're not here to take me, she whispered. They're here to blow the building. Marco wants us both gone. Damien's face turned lethal. Then we end this tonight. He moved like shadow, down service stairs. Silent, lethal. Sophia grabbed a spare Glock from the armory drawer he'd shown her days earlier. Her hands didn't shake. She caught up to him at the garage level. Gunfire already echoed. Damien dropped 2 intruders with precise headshots. The third, the one with the detonator, saw her. He raised his weapon. Sophia fired first. The man crumpled. The detonator clattered across concrete. Damien reached her in 2 strides, checking her for wounds. Eyes wild. You okay? Quote. She nodded. Blood speckled her cheek, not hers. He pulled her against him, crushing her to his chest. Never again do you follow me into a fight. Never again do you try to leave me behind. They stood there amid the chaos. Sirens rising in the distance. Bodies cooling on the floor, holding each other like lifelines. Later, back in the penthouse, Damien cleaned the blood from her face with a damp cloth. Gentle, reverent. You killed for me tonight, he said quietly. You'd do the same. I already have. He set the cloth aside. And I'll do worse before this is over. She took his hand, pressed it to her heart. Then let's finish it, together. He kissed her knuckles. Together. Outside, the city lights burned cold and bright. Inside, 2 broken people had forged something unbreakable. But Marco still breathed, and the final strike was coming. The detonator incident changed everything. No more shadow games. Marco knew Damien had Sophia. He knew she'd turned, and he was coming for blood. Damien's empire mobilized like a machine. Safe houses fortified, lieutenants recalled, weapons shipments rerouted. Sophia moved through it all with eerie calm, reviewing blueprints, memorizing escape routes, loading magazines with steady hands. She'd killed once now. The memory didn't haunt her. It fueled her. Damien watched her constantly, not out of distrust, out of fear. The kind that only comes when you realize someone matters enough to lose. One night, on the terrace overlooking the glittering East River, he found her staring at the water. You don't have to be there when it ends, he said quietly. I can handle Marco. You stay here, safe. She turned. Wind whipped her hair across her face. You think I'd let you face him alone after everything? Quote, I think I'd rather die than watch him hurt you again. Then we both live, or we both don't. She stepped closer. No more protecting me from the fight. I'm in it. He cupped her face, thumbs brushing her cheekbones. You're the only thing in this world I can't lose. Then don't. They kissed under the cold stars. Slow, desperate, like people stealing time from fate. The trap was set for the following Friday. Marco had scheduled a peace summit with Don Rossi at an abandoned cannery on the Brooklyn waterfront. Neutral ground, or so he claimed. Sophia would attend as the olive branch, escorted by her father. Damien's men would be in position outside. One wrong move, and the cannery would become a kill box. The night arrived drenched in rain. Sophia stepped out of the black SUV in a simple black coat over a crimson dress. Marco's favorite color, a deliberate taunt. Her father waited at the entrance, face carved from stone. Sophia, he said, voice cracking for the first time in years. You don't have to do this. I do. She met his eyes. For me, not for you. Inside, the cannery smelled of rust and salt. Marco stood under a single hanging bulb. Elena at his side, Pale, trembling, but defiant. He looked thinner, eyes fever bright. Beautiful as ever, he said, smirking. Blackthorn's taste has improved. Sophia didn't flinch. You look tired, Marco. Running out of money and men will do that. His smile vanished. You think you can play queen to that monster? He'll discard you the second I'm gone. Maybe, but at least he didn't fuck my sister behind my back. Elena flinched. Marco's hand shot to his waistband, gun drawn in a heartbeat. That was the signal. Glass shattered overhead. Damien's snipers opened fire from the catwalks. Chaos erupted. Rossi men turned on Marco's crew in a brutal betrayal. Don Rossi had chosen his daughter over his pride after all. Marco grabbed Elena, using her as a shield, backing toward a side door. Sophia moved without thinking, darting forward, tackling him. They crashed to the concrete. The gun skittered away. Marco's hands closed around her throat. You should have stayed on those steps. She drove her knee into his groin. He howled, grip loosening. She rolled free, snatched the gun, pressed it to his forehead. Do it, he spat. Prove you're as ruthless as him. Sophia's finger tightened on the trigger. Then Damien was there, blood on his sleeve, eyes locked on hers. You don't have to, he said softly. She looked at Marco, really looked. The man who'd promised forever and delivered nothing but pain. I know, she whispered. She lowered the gun. Marco laughed, weak, broken, pathetic. Damien stepped forward, nodding to his men. They dragged Marco and Elena away. No execution, exile, stripped of everything, left alive to rot in obscurity. Outside, rain pounded the docks. Sophia stood soaked, trembling from adrenaline. Damien pulled her into his arms. It's over. She buried her face in his chest. Is it? Quote. He tilted her chin up. The war is. The rest, that's just us. Months later, on a quiet cliff in Amalfi, far from New York's shadows, they stood barefoot on warm stone. No cathedral, no guests, just vows spoken against the sea. I take you, Damien said, voice rough with emotion, not as a prize, not as revenge, as my equal, my heart, my everything. Sophia smiled through tears. I take you, flaws, darkness, and all, because you saw me when I was invisible, and you chose to keep me. They kissed as the sun sank, painting the water gold. The bride left in the cold had walked through fire, and emerged not broken, but forged anew, beside the man who'd once been her enemy, now her forever.